the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everyone. Again, we're in Winstead City Chambers, so if it might take us a little bit, we might be a little rough starting here, but everybody seems to be logged in and everything, so we'll give it a whirl. We'll start with the consideration of agenda items.
No changes, Mr. Chair.
Hearing no changes, I'd take a motion to approve the
Make a motion to approve it.
agenda items.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Luthens and seconded by Commissioner Smalls to approve the agenda items. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Consent agenda. Any additions or corrections?
No changes, Mr. Chair.
Motion made by Commissioner Nagel. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Smalls to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Environmental Services. Good morning, Mark.
Morning, Mark.
Beautiful morning for a drive, and we get to look at the lake.
Yeah.
Or you do at least.
Very beautiful facility, so I appreciate this. Two items for your consideration this morning. Item A is consider a recommendation from the Planning Advisory Commission to approve an amendment to McLeod County Zoning Ordinance Section 16, which is our General Development Regulations, Subdivision 13, Accessory Buildings, Subpart 3. We talked about this at an earlier workshop. We did notify, per statute, we did notify all of our municipalities and our townships, and we did hold a public hearing on this matter at the Planning Commission September 28th, 2022, and they did recommend approval for this amendment. The amendment as reads would be a detached accessory building located in any required front yard within the R1 Rural Residential District, UE Urban Expansion District, any platted lot within the agricultural district, or any lot less than 3 acres in the agricultural district. And what we're asking to add is with a neighboring dwelling within 500 feet is permitted only through a conditional use permit. So currently, the statement does not have that within 500 feet. So if it is a lot in the agricultural district that's less than 3 acres, and it does not have a house next to it, which would impair a potential sightline, they would be required to go through a conditional use permit. This does not alleviate a landowner from having to obtain a variance if setbacks cannot be met. It's simply an area issue in regards to placement of an accessory building. So with that being said, we have not heard any comments from municipalities and or townships in regards to this proposed amendment, and the Planning Commission did recommend approval for this request.
Questions from the board? I guess, did this come from pod homes or whatever? Is this where this really stemmed from, or
This actually came from staff, so we've had a number of these over the last, I want to say 10 years. A lot of the smaller properties that are starting to occur in the rural area, family farms that are being split off from the tillable acreage. The tillable is going to remain as an income producing property. The building site is sold off to a third party. So in that, a lot of times these properties are small because they want to maintain as many acres as they possibly can for rental. So with that being said, it limits placement on some of these older farm sites of where an accessory building could go. So if it is a 3 acre or less parcel, they are restricted of being able to utilize what we have in ordinance defined as a front yard. So that's what brought this forward.
I'll move to approve the amendment.
I'd second it.
motion made by Commissioner Wright to approve and seconded by Commissioner Nagel. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. Yep, thank you. Item B is to consider approving an amended distribution of McLeod County Aquatic Invasive Species AIS grant funds per the Bell Lake Association 2022 Eurasian Milfoil EWM treatment program for a cost of $18,607.28 from the AIS fund, which is 25-694, at the time of receipts provided to McLeod County. A little bit of history on this. The Bell Lake Association was granted by you, the board. It was an application for $9,835.36 to be distributed from the McLeod County IS Fund with a 10% match in July 19th, 2022. And what happened with this request is at the time, the contract that Bell Lake uses with Clark Environmental, they did an assessment of the lake, and because the lake had gone through a pretty significant algae bloom, clarity was an issue, and they were having a tough time. And actually what they found is that there was no growth in regards to the milfoil. So it was a massed assessment, if you will, at that time. So they decided not to do the program, to do the treatment at that time. And Clark came back out in August with the DNR and did an assessment and found out that not only did it not reduce the growth, it also spread into other areas. So they did a treatment, and Bell Lake has come back forward and asked for an amendment to the grant application that they originally submitted in July, with a new request for a project total of $20,674.76 with a 10% match of $2,067.48. So the project total was $20,674.76. McLeod County, if approved, would authorize a disbursement of $18,607.28 from the AIS fund. So with that being said, the original area that was to be treated was approximately 12 acres in and around the Petersburg Lagoon to the north up to the east landing. And when they came back out, Clark Environmental with the DNR, there was also an area that was on the northwest corner of the lake where there was significant milfoil growth as well. So that is the nature of this request. We do have adequate funds in that account for this. We've had one other disbursement, which was to Lake Marion this year. So we do have adequate funds for this if the board so chooses. Lynn Splickerber is here. He is the president of the Bell Lake Association. He was so kind to come today as well to explain what happened. If I missed anything, I'm sure he could add to that.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
I think he explained it well. I think Lynn would agree. And then my question was, and I thought I knew the answer, but you confirmed it, that the fund was healthy enough to support this request. And,
Yes.
and it is. So with that, Mr. Chair, I would move to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Nagel to approve using the funds, the AIS funds. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Wright.
Question?
Any discussion? Go ahead.
What replenishes that AIS fund?
We get an allotment from the state. So this goes back to the Lessard Sams, every county, and the formula that the DNR uses to distribute those funds for the legacy money is it's a percent of how many boat landings, public boat landings you have in your county. But in McLeod County, that money comes back annually through, and I don't know what the end date is on that money, on that tax, that sales tax, percentage of sales tax. But every county gets this allotment based on what they have collected, based on what the state has collected. So we get this money approximately, right now I would have to go back and look, it's 70,000 roughly is what we get. And that money has to be used specifically for AIS. So whether it's an education program, whether it's boots on the grounds program, doing treatments like this, some counties will do boat inspectors, to limit the spread of AIS. I've had this discussion with this board in the past. I would prefer to work with our lake associations. They are the ones that are there every single day and doing the assessments on the lake, and Bell Lake has done a really good job of that. They have an active group, very active group, and we have a county park there. So hopefully that answers your question. It is an allotment. It is money that we receive from the state. There is an end date on that money, and at that particular time, we'll have to see what the state does if they bring that program back forward to the voters to authorize collection of those funds to be used for this particular type of issue. But we do have a healthy fund balance right now in that program, and hopefully it will continue, because this issue of AIS is not going away anytime soon.
So you don't have to spend the money you get every year? You can let it build.
We do, and that's where we've stopped doing some of the education program. I've taken it upon ourselves as a county to work with our radio stations to get that word out, work with our newspapers to get the word out in regards to the education, but the actual money we collect other than our staff time involved in AIS is to help our lake associations do programs like this to actually treat. It's a little bit more boots on the ground, if you will, and I think we get a lot more for that money than just the education component.
Thank you.
Just my comments, I've worked with this through the South Fork and North Fork, and this is a lot better use of the funds than some of the other projects that we've tried. We don't have a lot of recreational lakes in McLeod, but from what, this sounds a little bit long, but from what I understand, the people I've talked to, the actual project that they're doing here is working. It's just they're going to kind of readjust, from what I understand. So it's a lot better than gas station sleeves. You know, they put sleeves on gas stations and reminding people, no, this is a boots on the ground. So I'm happy with that. Is there no other comments? I'll call the question.
Mr. Chair, just gonna, seeing as Mr. Splitberger made the trip all the way over here today, just if you want a couple of comments from him, what are the discussions like in your Lake Association meetings when this topic comes up? I mean, would this be happening if this program were not able to pay for this? Or is there, what are the other folks, what are their conversations like?
Along with Mark's knowledge. Apologize. You went openly said we did what we did this fall. Fully. No, Mark and I have
I don't think you need to apologize for doing what you did. I think that was I feel that was the right call. So, and I appreciate that. And that makes it easier looking at it again and making the adjustment for me. So I think that was absolutely done. So thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Information technology, Matt, is Matt here?
I'll present Matt's item this morning since we're in Winstead. Item A, consider approving the state contract quote from Zygen Solutions of Minneapolis for replacement of the secondary storage system at a cost of $101,510.27 using funds from the information technology budget. Our secondary storage system is used to store backups, surveillance video, and other data that does not require the performance of our primary system. The system is 6 years old and will no longer be supported after December 31st of this year.
Questions?
Move to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Lewis. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Employee Relations, Hannah. Good morning, Hannah.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. All. I'm going to be sitting here for just a little bit this morning, and you have some notes in front of you for some of the items we're going through today. Item A, consider approving the Personnel Committee's recommendation to move one full-time 40-hour-a-week building maintenance worker to a part-time 25-hour-a-week employee and changing one temporary part-time building maintenance worker to a permanent part-time 20 hours a week. This is an increase of 5 hours overall, but it will be a budget neutral request as neither employee will be benefits eligible. Both of these employees are qualified and are supporting the work that the building maintenance is doing across McLeod County.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
I just want to add that with this request, if it is approved, This is how we are handling this right now because of one of those employees coming back from leave and someone filling in, which you approved. However, we did let them know that if this were approved, we would review it annually to assure that it's still the best fit for the county.
My comments as well, first I'm gonna make a motion to approve so we can have the discussions.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Nagel. I obviously did some work on this too, and I mean, we have what I would call a good and adequate staff to work on different things, with hiring people today, anything we can do to help get our jobs done, and it's budget neutral, plus it's existing employees, so it's worth, that's what we pay our people to do, so I'm well with this. Any more discussion?
Question,
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair. So are we going to we're going to take one and go to part-time and the other one's part-time, so do we save on benefit?
Correct. Yep. Both employees will not be benefits eligible. Yep, that's right.
Thank you.
Any more discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. B.
Mr. Chair, I think your microphone's not on, just letting you know.
Correct.
Item B, just so we can hear you. Item B, consider approving the 2023 McLeod County Wellbeing Budget Request. This request is due to, there was an increased medical insurance premiums in 2023, and because of this, the McLeod Sibley Joint Powers voted to leave the Southwest West Central Cooperative, which maintained a part of our well-being program. So this request is to maintain the well-being offerings that support the health and well-being of McLeod County employees year-round. Some of the offerings that this program will offer and has offered is an annual biometric wellness screen, and some after-hours fitness programming, the wellness credit program, and other trainings. And we do have room for this in the budget.
Questions for Hannah?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
and Hannah, do we know what the monetary amount of the request is to be?
Yeah, so thank you for asking. I apologize, that was not in there. I'm working with Carrie Ward, who is our well-being coordinator at McLeod County. Based on the participation in this current year of 2022, what we are requesting is a $65,000 budget for this request. This program impacts, for the biometric screens, we have over half of our benefits eligible employees participate in both the biometric wellness screen, which helps employees know their current health status, as well as our wellness credit program, which has been a very a lot of high participation in that program as well. Those two items are only available for those that are eligible for benefits, but the rest of those well-being programs, like after-hours fitness programs, trainings, and general wellness programming throughout the year, are available to any McLeod County employee, whether they're full-time, part-time, whatever their status might be. So that budget is based on the participation of the last few years in those programs.
Yep, and thanks, Hannah, for that information. I do serve on the Wellbeing Committee, and I believe that the numbers are building with participation. People value, the rebates that are available to them to help with their health insurance premiums. So I think we're looking at a legitimate request, and with that, I'll move approval, Mr. Chair.
Motion made by Commissioner Smalls. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Wright. And excuse me, Hannah, if I missed it, but that 65,000 comes out of what budget?
So this is a part, I believe, of our, Kalina may ask you for this too, this would be a part of like our insurance, a part of insurance budgeting, I believe. This is a new thing for us because this had been a part of Southwest West Central prior.
And before.
And
It's always been blended into the insurance piece where it's
Yeah.
different now.
yeah, thank you. Yep.
And you're fine. I mean, I'm just asking. I'm from the old school. We didn't do these kind of things, and I just want to make sure.
Yep.
I do know some other young people, my kids or whatever, that participate in these. Are we tracking the value, or the insurance companies track the value of doing this?
Yeah, I don't have like those statistics in front of me right now, but I think, like you're saying, Mr. Chair, the hope would be that if folks are participating in this, we would see outcomes in general health, which should impact our rates and premiums as a county as well. So it's not just participating in after-hour fitness class one time. The hope is that we'll see that impact in those rates.
It's in wellness of better living too. I mean, smoking, exercising, that type of.
Right.
Yeah, okay. That's all I have. Go ahead.
With that being on the insurance piece of this, and I wish I did, but the numbers do exist, but I don't have them in front of me because I challenge that too, is this money that is well spent? And they're assuring me at different levels, not just at the county level, that it is an investment that helps keep our premiums down. So I think you were asking if we looked into it, and the answer is yes.
Well, yeah, and I appreciate that. I don't need immediate, but I'd just be, as long as we're doing it, we might as well track the data.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair, all of the numbers are available for participation.
And it may take a
You don't
while
have them with
before
us?
it shows, I don't know how many years we've been at it already, but
And Mr. Chair,
go ahead.
I can reinforce what's stated by Commissioner Nagel. When we look at the insurance package, we looked at the whole, all the components, including the wellness component. And yes, we had to, do some changes this coming year to keep costs as low as possible for our employees. So the numbers do exist, and it is beneficial to our county employees.
And that's good to hear. I would actually encourage participation so we can actually see what does work. But any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Number C.
Just one last comment. Just anecdotally, we have 287 full-time employees who are benefits eligible, and in 2021, 110 employees participated in the well-being credit. So we are seeing really good participation. So thank you. Item C, and there is some notes in front of you as well. Consider approving the Budget Committee recommendation to adopt the updated 2022 non-union McLeod County wage scale. In 2022, the board approved working with Keystone to update our compensation plan, and the updated 22 wage scale was recommended based on that data collected. So we, in April of this year, the board approved a service agreement with Keystone from the general funds to continue to maintain the county's Keystone compensation system. In between June and September of this year, we reviewed our current scale. Keystone reviewed the current scale and compensation data, and then they made a recommendation to McLeod County, which was reviewed by the Budget Committee. The committee reviewed the recommended wage scale, and this was considered when setting the levy. In October, our finance administration and HR reviewed that data with Keystone and applied that data. And so that's what we're bringing for you in front of you today.
All right, Hannah's being modest because she also spent some time with me, and I know a couple other ones that took a while. I'm not going to try to dissect it and explain it, but I did spend some time with Hannah and Colleen and Sheila to get the understanding of it, and once got a hold of it, I feel it's a good plan. And again, I'm not going to try it. If they have questions, either you or Colleen, to explain it, go for it. But I do understand it, and with situations in hiring and retention, it's a good plan.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'd move to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Nagel to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Schmalz. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
D.
This will be actually item D.
D, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I've got a few today. So item D, consider setting the 2023, 2024, and 2025 non-union wage scales. The Budget Committee is recommending a 2.5 annual wage scale increase for all job grades from the minimum to maximum amounts. This item is to approve an increase in the wage scale job grades amount only. This does not cover the adjustment of the employee's wages within those scales. The wage scale is the parameter of the allowable pay for each job and each grade.
Without repeating myself, I'm going to, we did the same thing. They talked me, or we talked about it, and again, I'm not going to attempt the explanation, but again, I think it's, with what's going on today, you know, that it's something we need to do. So I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Wright. Now, is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. Item E, consider setting the 2023, 2024, 2025 non-union annual wage adjustments. The Budget Committee is recommending a 3% annual wage increase for employees who are performing and meeting expectations within the approved wage scales. And I guess I'll just note that this is based on the compensation work that we did with Keystone this year.
And again, the only thing I'm going to say is just remind everyone, this is non-union. These are the non-union subjects, so.
And Hannah, this is when we get effective first of the year, right? This piece.
Yes, correct. Yep. This is effective the first payroll of the new year.
Move to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Nagel. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. Item F, consider approving the Budget Committee's recommendation for the 2023 non-union health insurance employer contributions for those who elect coverage. In front of you, there's information, or the talking through what those are. You'll see we have our 2022 contributions listed there, and the recommendation for 2023 is an overall 9% increase to the contribution in 2022, and it is within the budgeted expense that we have listed for 2023 insurance. This does meet the requests that we're seeing for many of the plan options from our unions, and this is also approximately 3% less than what the county contributed in 2021.
Can you say that again?
So basically, the wages, the contributions we have listed are 9% increase over what was contributed in 2022, but this is a 3% decrease than what we contributed in 2021. So I'm not going to pretend to be like an insurance expert, but I've learned a lot in the last few years. In 2021, you know, our rates were where they were. 22, we saw a decrease, which is pretty unique for contributions. And based on the work that Sheila and our insurance agent did, we were able to find more stabilized rates for 2023. So the contributions in front of you are for our, we have 4 tiers, a single plan, we have an employee plus spouse plan, employee plus children, and family. So those four tiers, this is the contribution from McLeod County.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
I just want to note, those notes that are for you, talking about the percentages, don't reflect that in 2021, we only had 2 levels of coverage. So that's just accurate for the family and single percentage increase and decrease. It actually has enabled a lot of our employees to go see a significant decrease in their coverage cost, to be able to go to either employee plus spouse or employee plus children if they were paying for a family plan previously. Do you have any questions that I could answer? I don't want to go into information overload on this.
And the
I know
only
that
reason
we've
I'm not
explained
saying
all, but-
anything is I've been dealing with this for different Trailblazer, different things we're in. I mean, it's, and everybody knows that deals with insurance. Am I confident that we've probably done the best we can here? Yes, that's all I can say. Any questions from anyone, go ahead, but.
Just one more note, and
Go ahead.
Commissioner Nagel could add to this, but without the work that we did to take ourselves out of Southwest West Central Cooperative for this year, we would have seen a much higher significantly higher increase, double what you're seeing in the coverage cost. I feel like you said we've done the work, we found the best option for our employees. And we also know that if it is ever a good option for us to go back to that cooperative, that we are allowed to do so.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll echo that. The Southwest West Central was the right move at the right time, 2.5 years ago, whenever we started to explore that. But as the rates came in this year, it makes sense for us to look at some other options that came in significantly better. I don't even know the overall number, but it was huge. So I think you're right that we did what we could do, and we did and where we need to be. I think getting that second year, help me with the term,
We have a
locked
con-
in.
yeah.
Yeah, that's big, because often we don't know. I mean, this is the first time that I remember getting a second year.
Do you mind if I just comment
yeah,
on that?
please.
So what we're talking about is Blue Cross Blue Shield we've committed to them in 2023, and then they've given us a capped rate for 2024. So we know that we'll be with Blue Cross Blue Shield, or we're planning to be with Blue Cross Blue Shield both for 23 and 24, knowing that there will be a capped increase for McLeod County, which is great.
We are not required to be with Blue Cross Blue Shield in 2024.
Right.
We are for 2023 with that guaranteed rate. For 2024, as always, we will go out and get rates.
But I think just even that 1 year,
Give us the cap.
potentially 2 years, allows us to see where we're at. And it's something that I've always been asking for in the planning piece of this. It's always been difficult because while it's been a relatively short time I've been here, it always feels like you're chasing this number. And this is probably the first time, well, you cannot like the numbers, but we know what they are. And I think that's important in the planning process and to the constituents. So I kind of lost track where we're at. We don't have a motion, right?
No.
Okay, so I would move approval on this.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Nagel. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Schmalz. Discussion, I as well. I'm basing my opinion on some of the numbers I've seen in different plans. I mean, we got down to some of the early numbers were scary. I mean, are we trying different things? Yeah, we're trying. Different things are happening in the industry and mandates from the state. So I think we're at a good place. So I'll leave it at that. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. Item G, consider approving the Budget Committee's recommendation for a 2023 non-union health insurance employer contribution for eligible employees who choose to opt out of coverage. McLeod County has offered an opt-out. It's a monthly opt-out coverage. It's been $235.13. We are recommending the same amount for 2023. There's no change with that recommendation.
And please correct me if I'm wrong, while we have this benefit and it's there for people to use, if they choose to opt out and we use that dollar amount to help them, it actually can save us money also in our plans. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'll make a short comment on that as well, just to help people understand. I'm one of the people that does opt out, but I'm over 65 or on Medicare, so my choices are not the same as a lot of other people's. Anybody that gets in insurance, you'll see that. So it's a good plan to offer those. I'm sure there's other people that, especially if it comes to part-time help after a while that are qualified for insurance, that it's good to have that available. But again, I don't know what else to say. I'm one of the guys that are lucky. It doesn't obviously pay my insurance, but it's a benefit for me, so I appreciate that.
Mr. Chair, how do we come up with that 235.13?
Mr. Chair, I can comment on this. We do a calculation that would be comparable to the lowest cost health insurance plan for the employees if they were going to participate. And there's a reason being, I've seen in the past where people would join a health plan just to receive, like, if you had a free health savings account match or something where it wasn't dollar for dollar, you would see some participants in that just for the sake of having unnecessary secondary coverage or something that they're not utilizing. It is a calculation based on data, and we do look at it year over year.
And Commissioner Luthens, I questioned it early on, but it keeps a clear benefit across my words again, a clear benefit across the boards for all our employees.
Mr. Chair, I will note that the opt-out, we do bring that to the county board every year. This is only for non-union opt-out participants. That's one note. And we are not asking to set that rate for a year beyond 2023. That would just be for this upcoming year. Because we don't know the cost of our plan for next year yet.
So we can't compare it to the single for 728, which McLeod County's contributing to? On the page before, NF? Not related at all?
Mr. Chair.
We're paying $794.27. Go ahead.
Sorry, Commissioner Luthens. I will note that an opt-out is not common. If you go to the counties surrounding us, it is not common. And I can bring you further discussion if you would like to. However, this is seen as like an additional benefit because if the person wanted that amount of coverage or of dollars put towards their insurance plan, then they would join our health insurance. I do understand the concern that you guys have brought up within the last couple of days during individual discussions I've had, that if somebody is over a certain age and is Medicare eligible. However, that discussion's never been brought to us before for consideration. So if you would want that considered further or considered in the future, then we would need further time to look at that.
And it took me a while in the early years to figure out that how this all worked and what it did, and it is a benefit, and that's why I kind of brought it up to be transparent. But having said that, the county actually saves money. It doesn't seem like it should be that way, but the county saves money on paying the opt-out versus the insurance. In my particular case, I have an ill spouse. It's not fair for me, especially as an elected official, to put the county through that strain. And so it's a win-win for both of us, in my opinion.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
one more comment. I apologize it's taking so long. I wouldn't be averse to looking into it further if you want us to table this discussion and we could bring it to the next county board agenda just to look at maybe what other options are available or if there are questions. If the board is more comfortable doing that than making a decision right now, that should not be a problem. I don't know if that actually interferes with enrollment dates, but maybe that really doesn't matter to those who would be taking the opt-out anyhow, so.
And there's very few taking the opt-out, am I correct?
Not very few, no. Many people are on their spouse's coverage,
Okay.
other coverage. We have people on TRICARE who are military or military veterans, and then they can use that. Those dollars are often used for them for their dental coverage, or if they have additional life insurance, maybe some vision or other supplemental coverage. So it isn't uncommon for people to use the opt-out coverage, no. And I have the number 28 in my head, 59 from Colleen Roback in the audience, everyone.
Thank you.
So
Can I also?
it's not uncommon.
I also, how I understand this to Commissioner Luthens is we want to give an incentive for those that are choosing to not be a part of our insurance because like Commissioner Kruger mentioned, it is a cost savings to us, but also it's a benefit to us and to our plan rates to have as many people on our plan as we can.
Correct.
The more participants that we have on our plan, the lower our rates stay. So we want to give an incentive, but we also don't want it to be too great that people are deterred from being on our plan. So that's how I understand where this dollar amount came from, is to, again, say, here's a benefit, but, we want our plans to be reasonable enough that people would consider being on the McLeod County insurance to help stabilize rates and lower rates for all of us that are on those benefit plans.
My comment is if the premiums are going up, I would think the opt-out should be more too then. That's what I'd add to it.
So, Mr. Chair, the reason being, so our 2021 premiums were for many of the levels, more expensive. Like I talked about, we now have 4-tier plans versus 2. So 2002 was less, and they received that. I understand that, but it's looking at back 2 years, not just 1. If you want it re-reviewed, I don't know that you want it to take a significant portion of time today. Hannah, does that meet the open enrollment?
I think if employees know that it's going to be at least that 235.13, and we maybe are pausing to consider it a different number, I think that'll be okay. We do have open enrollment starting on November 7th, so it is helpful. It would be very helpful to have that dollar amount as people are enrolling.
Our next meeting would meet open enrollment. And just to be clear, like Hannah said, our intention for our health insurance plan is to make it attractive to people who are eligible to participate. So I wouldn't see that we would ask for a significant difference. However, if you're looking at different types of eligibility, then we could look at that.
I would guess that I have no problem in looking into it. I expect there's situations like this, you push in on one end, it pushes out on the other. And, I mean, we've worked on this for a long time, but I have no problem looking at the numbers, but it, maybe a future, I don't know how much it throws off our budgets, or if this is the way we've set it up now to budget. I mean, I hesitate a little without a meaningful difference to go there, but that's my personal opinion.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
I think that the concern that Mr. Luthen's brought up is definitely relevant, as what is enough, to make sure that there's enough of a carrot there, if you want to call it that, to pay someone to look elsewhere. But you know, this is a big package deal for today. I'd rather keep that together. To wait another 2 weeks, is 2 weeks enough of a vetting period to make sure that we don't do something that is going to harm another side of this. So I think we need to, for today, get through this. I'll make a motion to approve, but I do think that when we come to this point next year, as Commissioner Wilson's brought up, let's make sure that we maybe look at what that dollar amount, if there is some fluctuation that needs to be in that.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright to approve as written for today with looking into it in the future. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Nagel. Discussion? Is that something that's acceptable with you, Commissioner?
Right.
I mean, it's entirely, I think you made good points, and again, I'll go from
Mr.
there.
Chair, the motion that you want to make is to approve it for the following year. What you do after that, you're free to look into it again, but the motion that you want to make is to approve what is before you.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Thanks for the comments. My last item today, item H, consider approving the Budget Committee's recommendation for 2023 non-union employer-sponsored health savings account, or HSA, plan participant matching contribution. We are recommending to maintain what the board approved in 2022, which for those employees that are on an employee-only plan, the recommendation is to match up to $1,200 in their HSA. And for our family or employee plus plans, up to $1,800 for an HSA match. I will note that for those employees that enrolled in an HSA compatible plan in 2022, we had almost 100% participation. So I know our employees have really utilized this benefit, and it's been very positive.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
I will just note that of the employees who I've talked to and surveyed about their thoughts on this, they find it to be one of the most valuable contributions that the county makes to their medical expenses. It does really help. Noting dollar for dollar, I gave you a recommended motion for approval. just to really be specific on how that is passed. I think it's important. It is a dollar for dollar match. It is not, we do not give that to someone unless they contribute that themselves. And like Hannah said, we do have almost 100% participation already for 2022. For those who are eligible and enrolled in the health savings account plans, that means that they've contributed almost up to 100% of what they were allowed to have matched. And that shows the value in what you've contributed as a board.
The only question that just popped to mind right now, and I hesitate to ask it when it just popped in, but the question is, now, if you opt out, are you able to participate in the HSA?
No, because that means you're not enrolled in a health savings account
I'm
plan.
glad that
You have to be enrolled in a health savings account plan, which the majority of our plans are. There are many options, but we also have a couple of options that are traditional plans that are not health savings account eligible.
And you worked hard on this in past years, and I appreciate that, and your staff as well. So that was the answer I was hoping you were going to give, because that clears up some earlier questions that were brought up, in my opinion. But I'm
And
not.
that could hurt the coverage for some of those people who take the opt-out plan. They're likely in a plan that's not HSA allowable, and if they were to enroll in something with an HSA,
Right.
they may lose their other benefit or have some tax issues.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I'll move that we go with the Budget Committee's recommendation on the request.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Schmalz to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Wright. Any more discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Hannah and Colleen. They did a lot of work for this, and it's appreciated.
Move on to county administration. We'll start with review of the calendars. Commissioner Luthens.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We'll start out 6th of October, 6th October, Thursday, at Trailblazer meeting in Buffalo. And then the following week at Monday, MRC meeting. And Tuesday, Safety Committee meeting and downstairs at the law enforcement. And I also took the afternoon and toured the jail. And on Wednesday, we had Pack for Family, Zoom meeting. In the afternoon was AMC. And then on the 14th was a meeting out in Redwood Falls, Lyon County, SMAMCH. That should do it. Thank you.
Mr. Wright.
Just a couple meetings to report on. I think fall harvest has had a lot to do with my time commitments lately. Yesterday was Economic Development Committee. We talked about our policy. We talked about different county updates. Last night I attended the annual meeting of the Ag Association, and they talked about the tremendous success of this past year's fair and how they can keep the ball rolling into the many fairs in the future. And they asked me to extend a huge thank you to all county board members and staff for supporting an open gate fair. That was definitely a key part to such a success this past year. And at their meeting, they did approve a request for ARPA funding to continue that throughout the longevity that we have that funding available. So we will hear more from the Ag Association in the future. Thank you.
All right, I'll start with the 4th. That was our last meeting, and after, which was a workshop. And then that afternoon, we had the Ring Road Open House in Hutchinson. Enlightening, a good turnout, a lot of people, a lot of comments. And then on the, I don't know, John, if you're going to touch on that later, that's fine. If not, we've got a lot of comments that went into the box. The results will be coming in the future when it's all taken care of. That on the 6th, I had Trailblazer as well. It was already commented on. Went through some of the same things. we're talking about today, trying to pick our insurances and moving into wages as well, and talking about retention, holding employees, hiring new employees, the same issues across the boards, I guess. On the 11th, department head Zoom meeting, and I had, on the 13th, I had a drainage workshop review, and I've commented a little bit before. It's, first of all, it's Zoom. It's really hard to do our face-to-face participation, and myself and one or two other commissioners from different counties. I represent Minnesota rural counties on that. As a commissioner that sits on Minnesota rural counties, but I represent them as some of the other ag commissioners. Corn growers are on there. AMC is on there, and it's very hard to kind of hold our own on ag and on drainage and try to have an objective view on how to proceed. Everybody's concerned about being good stewards of the land, but there's some things that are really out there, really hard and not cost effective, at least not for the landowners. So that's the things we go through there. We're kind of waiting, treading water until the end of this year to see what direction some of this stuff goes. On the 14th, I attended Lower Minnesota One Watershed, One Plan. That's in Gaylord. That one, Lower Minnesota, encompasses the southern part of McLeod County. It would be in the Baker's Lake area for one, New Auburn Lake as well, High Island. So we're going through some of the same things there, but we are, as a policy committee, we move forward our plan, and our plan will start getting posted for a public hearing that will be coming up, I believe, or a public open house type meeting. It'll be, I believe, on the 14th during deer hunting, but that's the way it works out. But so I will wade through some of the opinions and stuff that's being made. We did accomplish. Again, I'll tout ag all day, but we got some verbiage put in the policy that talks about runoff from field runoff. It talks about on-land storage, but specific to ag. And yesterday, the 17th, Commissioner Wright alluded to, we had our Economic Development Committee meeting, and that brought me to today. So go ahead, Mr. Nagel.
Mine will be pretty quick. I don't know where these last 2 weeks went, but not a ton of formal meetings, but after the workshop 2 weeks ago, had some discussions with staff regarding some issues at our parks, specifically ones that are in the district that I represent. We already discussed the personnel committee that I serve on and the recommendations that were coming forward. There was a lot of work with that by staff, but they did a good job of keeping us informed as it was going on. So thank you for that, along with similar topics for the budget committee. Then I also had a NACO public safety phone call scheduled. So that's it.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioner Nagel. As stated, since our last board meeting, we attended a workshop at the Glencoe Government Center. And then that evening, I participated in a federal audit that was being completed by auditors, and they're auditing UCAP. Part of the team that was doing the questioning was from Florida. And there was a person from Atlanta. They also do an in-person visit. And so it was an interview process in which even a few Joint Powers board members participated in. And then Friday, the 7th, I'll back up. Thursday, the 6th, I attended a Prime West Joint Powers Board meeting in Alexandria. The takeaway from that meeting is kind of twofold. There's some good news and bad news. I'll go with the bad news first. The bad news is the litigation that Prime West was involved in as far as county-based purchasing was, the ruling came in against Prime West on that fact. Now, there is an appeal process that can be discussed. There's still some time, and they put out an invite now for their next gathering to where they'd like to know what the member counties' wishes are as far as continuing the litigation process. I think there'll be some more information coming out, with that invitation. And then I said there was some good news. The good news was that Prime West has been made the, how do I want to say it, the default choice on people who don't choose an insurance plan. I think we're talking mostly the people who are on a Minnesota Care Plan or an MA plan. Every year you have an annual election, and the tendency is for people not to choose. So being the default choice, people who don't choose would automatically be enrolled in Prime West. They have the data that states that the numbers look encouraging. If their projections are correct, they believe that they will gain membership being the default choice on Prime West. Friday the 7th, I did a mental health local advisory council meeting in Hutchinson at the solid waste facility. And then last week, on the 13th, I was back again at the solid waste facility. CHB committee had a meeting where we did a review of the director of the CHB. And that brings us to today, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Commissioner Schmaltz. I just want to add to, if I could, please, that this county-based purchasing situation is not just Prime Health. I mean, that's the one that's being fought here, but to have these the commissioners, or this comes out of the Department of Health, but to have them say that we can't use our county-based purchasing for some things that are advantageous to the efficiencies of our county, to me is, I'm really not prepared to go into length of it, but it has more to do than just with Prime West. That would be my comment.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
And I'll add a little bit to that. I mean, before entering the meeting, the way I approached it was I talked to our social services director, and I asked Barrett what the effect is on these decisions at the county level, and she gave me a pretty good primer and educated me on the effect. So if you do have questions, I would suggest that you reach out to Barrett and ask her how that affects McLeod County directly. And what I'm talking about is these decisions that we're struggling with in the court system.
Yeah, very good. And this could, like I said, what worries me is that it spills out of health and moves into some other areas of county-based purchasing.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
Mr. Schmal, do we have to have a decision at our next meeting about Prime West? Prime West will meet on the 3rd, and they want a decision whether we want to be involved or not, county?
Yeah, Commissioner Luthens, you are correct. Prime West, they're on a timeline as far as whether they appeal the decision that went against them. And I think they have, don't quote me on the date, it's the middle of November to make an appeal on the decision. So that's why they're asking people to attend, to help the owner counties decide what would be the next step regarding the decision.
If you could please, stay on top of that information. If you need some help, let me know, so we can get it back to the board, so we can decide. It's an important, I didn't really expect it to go the way it did, but it's an important topic to watch. Mr. Young, do you have anything?
Nothing, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Sheila?
Nothing to add. I can go to the agenda.
Go ahead.
Item A, consider approving the engagement letter with the Minnesota State Auditor to perform the audit of the 2021 financial statements. Our 2-year contract with the Minnesota State Auditor was previously approved, and the engagement letter is an annual requirement to perform our agreed-upon audit.
Move to approve.
Excuse me. Motion's been made to approve the contract with the Minnesota State Auditor. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Smalls. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I just want to know, it's not to approve the contract, it's just for the letter that we have to annually do.
Excuse me.
The contract was approved previously.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
B.
Thank you. Item B, consider approving an agreement for medical examiner services with Anoka County from January 1, 2023 through December 31st, 2027 at a per capita rate with funds from the County Sheriff's Office budget. Based on a per capita rate of $2.46 and McLeod County's current population figure, the annual 2023 contract amount will be $92,958, billed at a monthly rate of $7,747.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Nagel to approve the contract. Is there a second? I'll second it. Any more discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
and I don't know if you can answer this, Sheila, or not, but to the per capita rate of $2.46, is that a consistent charge that's being applied not just to McLeod County, but to other counties as well?
I didn't ask about other counties, however, I did ask about our own. And it is increased cost because of our population change, but I believe Mr. Young could note.
They serve about 13 to 19 counties, so I'm sure that they have what they do is they take their budget, they spread it amongst the people in that 13 to 19 counties, and you get a per capita rate. So that's how they go about funding it. They are based out of Anoka County.
Mr. Chair, I feel like the Midwest, their office has done a good job of communicating with us. They're the ones reaching out about annual reports and contracts. They're very consistent with their staff. And also I did talk to the Sheriff's Office briefly with Chief Deputy Ward about if there were any concerns. And of course, our County Attorney's Office reviewed the contract as well.
Mr. Young, you work with them all the time. I mean, you don't ever, that I can remember, have any problems with this.
No, they are really a pleasure to work with.
Yeah, thank you.
The only question ever came up was Hennepin County has one and the distance and mileage and things like that, but I don't know that makes some sense considering the really good, it's hard to talk about this type of thing and say you have a really good relationship because it's often some tragic circumstances that you deal with them in, but they are very good at what they do, and it's important that we have that. It's unfortunate we have to have that, but we need it.
And it's a little bit unusual in that we will have an incident here in McLeod County. We had one in Glencoe in 2012 where the victim was stabbed multiple times and was injured in McLeod County, died in Hennepin County. And Hennepin County ended up having to do the autopsy because it's place of death. And we talked back then about the rather significant fees we were charged by Hennepin County. We haven't had those kinds of unexpected fees out of the Midwest Medical Examiner.
And pre-COVID, we used to get then she used to, or the examiner came out and actually did a presentation to the board, did they not?
I think they did one. Did they do one this year? Did you do that for them?
Well, I presented
You
it
did,
for
I
them
know.
this year, yes.
Yeah.
And
They-
Mr.
they-
Chair,
they
they're
give us-
willing, they just, we didn't have, it was a timing issue, I believe, at the last meeting.
We have previously tried to time it with girl and boy county, where we have high school students present, and then we've had them present on behalf of the medical examiner, and I've been presenting on behalf of my office, because that seems to be one of the areas that interest the high school students and are necessary to present to all of you as well.
Any more discussion? Call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Item C, notification of a special meeting at 10:30 a.m. Tuesday, November 1, 2022, at the McLeod County Government Center, 520 Chandler Avenue North, Glencoe, Minnesota, for the purpose of the McLeod County Highway Road Tour. Item D, notification of board workshop following the board meeting on Tuesday, November 1st, 2022, at the McLeod County Government Center, again at 520 Chandler Avenue North, Glencoe, Minnesota. Thank you.
Any other business duly to come forward for the good of McLeod County? Go ahead, Commissioner Nagel.
I'm sure everybody will add on to this, but thank you to Winstead for the hospitality, and hopefully we didn't wreck anything while we were here. So if we did, send Sheila the bill.
Thank you. You have a very nice setup. And with that, Mr. Chair and others, our boardroom is planned to be ready. Everything is on the rework. As we've talked about in previous meetings, we had some defective materials through our construction project, and this is our last thing that we are doing to complete our project, and needed to replace a couple of things. And with that, we shifted our board table, and you'll see that.
I would just note, Mr. Board Chair, that this setup that they have here would fit very nicely in our new building, so we could
Just steal it.
Right out the door.
This is the first time I was in this side as well. I've looked through the windows before, but it's a very beautiful facility. You can be proud of it. Open forum. Anyone wish to address the board?
You stole my thunder. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Steve Stucco. I'm city council member and deputy mayor. Make 2 points and I'll let you guys go because meetings drag on sometimes. First of all, we welcome you. We're happy to host you guys today. We're really appreciative of the fact that you took the opportunity to come over and check us out. And the second thing is, I'm here, and the mayor's here, and I think Adam's here, so we can see how the pros handle the meetings.
Yeah.
Did press relations? Any press? Seeing none, I'm going to ask for a motion to recess for our next county board meeting at 9 a.m. Tuesday, November 1st, 2022, at the McLeod County Government Center, 520 Chandler Avenue North in Glencoe, Minnesota.
I so move.
Mr. Chair, one last thing. It's probably appropriate to acknowledge that we have a very major partnership with the city of Winstead in our County Road 5 extending across the south half and of the city of Winstead. And it's really a win-win opportunity for all of us. And we've been working well together. So thank you.
Thank you.
Before we take the motion, and I'm not taking any away from the rest of the county, especially not my townships or Glencoe, but I call Winstead the star of our north, so they're growing, they're doing it they're doing a good job. I like coming up here. Now, a motion to recess until 9 a.m. on November 1st. Motion made by Commissioner Nagel. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Schmalz. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're recessed.
I don't know how long our workshop